Today is a very big day. I am quitting my job. By the time you see this, it will be like several weeks have gone by. There's gonna be a little like blip in the vlog, so you may not know what's happening right at the moment. Today is March 3rd though, so beginning of the month. And I think it may even be like a month until you see this video, I'm not for sure. My plan is to give 3 weeks notice, just as like an extra little courtesy to help prepare for the vacancy and make sure I can properly terminate with all of my clients. And I haven't even decided what I want to talk about in this video necessarily, but I kind of just wanted to document the day because it is anxiety inducing, but I also know that it is the right decision and it is the right choice, and it does feel like the right time too. So I keep reminding myself of that. I also keep reminding myself that it's okay to outgrow things that once made you happy. I saw that on a little Instagram quote recently, and it just keeps coming back to my head that it's okay to outgrow things that once made you happy. We'll go a little bit into the lead up to this decision, some of which, I mean, you've seen whenever I've talked about my feelings towards my career, my job, whatever, in the past few months. But to get into a little bit of the worries with this decision, I don't have something lined up right now for afterwards. I have stuff that's in process, like theoretically likely will be job offers coming soon, but on the day that I'm quitting, I don't have something else lined up. So that's a little bit of a worry, but I'm also okay with it because I mean, I've been saving. So if there are a couple weeks lapse between jobs, that's okay. And then another worry is that this has become my personality and it being gone, I don't know, I feel like it's gonna take away some of my sparkle. Or even like for YouTube, like a lot of people watch me because they're interested in, you know, where I work. And if I work somewhere different, in my head, I'm feeling like that's gonna change or something. I am planning to continue social work, so it's not like a career change going on. It's just a regular old resignation. I need to grab food on my way into work because we're so low on food right now that there was literally nothing to eat for breakfast. But the next time I see you, theoretically, I will have resigned. It is raining, which I feel like is perfect, but I hope it doesn't affect the sound too much, but I did it. I have officially resigned from my job. I don't even remember what I said this morning, so I'll try to cut out so it's not repetitive. Please stick with me though. I know that this job was like interesting and fun and that a lot of people followed because they're interested in the job, but I promise that there'll be good things coming, even though I don't necessarily know exactly what those good things are. I was very nervous today because even though I planned to put in notice today, I didn't have like an exact plan of how I was going to do it. I did have a resignation letter template because I used one for like my previous job of like a letter that I wrote to resign, but then I let one of my coworkers use it a couple weeks ago, and so then I was like, oh wait, now I gotta change my resignation letter or else it's gonna be identical to the one he sent in that really is mine. So then I started having just like anxiety over that, which is such a small thing. And I was also like, what time of day do you call to let someone know that you don't want to have your job anymore? But like I said, it ended up being, you know, obviously fine. By the time you see this video, I will have already been doing termination sessions and such with the clients on my caseload, because there are some clients that I've had for 9 months now, and I know they'll be fine. I think something that helps, because I definitely am feeling a lot of like guilt over leaving, which I think is normal even if it's not necessary or accurate, but I kind of feel like it's different because I did this last year whenever I finished my internship, but at that time it was like a natural ending. Like I was done with my internship and so I was going to be done, and so the end date was always there, always knew, like clients knew too that I wasn't going to be there forever. Whereas it feels different this time because since it is voluntary on my part, I feel this guilt of, well, you should have just stuck it out longer, like for the kids you should have just stuck it out. And I keep having to remind myself that I'm not willing to martyr myself, especially this early in my career, for a job, even though my job is to serve the clients. And obviously I love the clients, like I have no problem with the youth. That is not why I wanted to leave, but in the coming days, weeks, maybe even months, I'm definitely going to be having to fight the guilt that I feel over leaving clients, even though I have ethical obligations, but I don't have like an obligation to stay at a job, you know, because fact of the matter is they will be fine. Someone will come in to fill my shoes, take my position, and like everything will be okay. But I definitely am feeling that like, oh, you're choosing yourself, which is fine. I'm just having to remind myself that it's fine because I am choosing myself. If you have any questions that I either am not answering in this video or like haven't spoken about before, that you're curious about this job or why I'm leaving or what it was like working there or anything that maybe I didn't talk about before, definitely comment your questions, because with more distance from today, because remember this is being pre-filmed, this is March 3rd, with more distance from today, I'll do a kind of Q&A talking about it. So if you have stuff that you want me to talk about in that video, comment them, definitely. But going into a little bit of reasons for why I chose to resign, there's a quote, and I feel like this is the biggest reason for me, even if it's not necessarily the biggest pushing factor to have done it now. But there is a quote that I don't know who it is originally from, but basically saying you'd rather be at the bottom of a ladder you want to climb instead of halfway up a ladder that you don't. And fact of the matter is, the current position in which I am in is the only position in which I would want in the place that I work. As we all know, I was hourly, I was part-time. People view it, even though it's the same job, people view it as like a promotion to go full-time, and I wouldn't want to be full-time with this agency. 1, with pay, 2, with like schedule, 3, with on call. Like, it just wasn't something that I wanted. And even like beyond going above that, there's no position above that that I wanted. And so being 23 and being at the only position inside the agency that I'm working at that I would ever want to work at just wasn't going to be forever, ever. It wasn't going to be forever. I knew it wasn't going to be forever, even beginning the position. I originally had thought that I would stick it out a year, and obviously it has not quite been a year. It's pushing up on there though. So some other factors that went into this decision. Originally, I thought that there was a chance that we would be moving this summer. Our lease is up in June, and there was a chance that we would be leaving Atlanta, whereas now it does appear as though we'll be staying for an indefinite amount of time, which is exciting because I do love the city, but it also means that I'm able to get a job in March and not be leaving the city in 3 months. So that kind of changes that timeline a little bit. 3, it is hard to work in a place that doesn't value you. And with that doesn't mean that a workplace has to be perfect. Like, there's going to be things that you need to put up with in any kind of place of employment, any kind of place of work. And I think lots of times it's a bad rap that social workers get, or like social work as a profession gets, but lots of times I do think social workers are undervalued, but there's levels to that and ways that it shows up in your day-to-day that I think sometimes you can cope with and sometimes you can't cope with. The people who had my same job, like my true coworkers, no problems with, not a single problem with. I love those people, and they are why I stuck at this job for so long. If I didn't like hanging out with them or being around them or working with them, I think I would have been gone quite a few months ago. But that was a big, protective factor for me at this job, was really enjoying the people that I directly work with. However, beyond that, I feel like there's only so much that you can do whenever you're not valued, you're not listened to. It's assumed that like, oh, you don't know anything, when like the position requires a master's degree. Like, I obviously had to learn some things and have to be good at least one thing, maybe 2 things I'm good at to be in this position. But just having to constantly fight at a spot at the metaphorical table, or like knowing what's best for individuals and then seeing not that happen. And that I guess can go into, what are we on, number 4 or something. It's just that working within the justice system itself is really difficult to do whenever I don't believe the justice system does good. Obviously, in order to change a system, you do need to be within it in some type of way, you know, like, because change can be made from within. However, being like at the very bottom of ranks, like, I'm not changing the agency. I'm just not. If you're undervalued, like in your immediate circle of people around you as a position, I promise you the uppers don't care. The justice system as it is now doesn't lower rates of crime, if that's the goal. It doesn't serve the needs of victims of crime, if that's the goal. It doesn't respect dignity and inherent self-worth and value that you cannot lose as a person no matter what you do, which it does get to start to be this like moral battle within oneself of like, oh, I'm working with people who have committed crimes, who have victims, and I also don't think they should be treated this way. And honestly, in my position, I have no say-so whatsoever at all as far as like legal situations go. And so a lot of the mental health coping that like I'll be working with in session is like, oh, so you're getting chewed up and spit out by the justice system and you feel sad about it. Yeah. Or you've been ripped away from your family even though you're 12 years old and people are acting as though you're weak for crying a couple of times. When I was 12, if someone took me away from my family and made me live somewhere with big scary people, that's tough. That's hard. And just to be frank, number 5, I won't go into detail, but there are other things that have occurred that have definitely pushed my decision to resign that I won't go into detail about. But as we know, starting in December, I started to be like, is this what I want to do? And it really became, no, I don't. And again, that's not to say I didn't like the youth to clients. I definitely did. They are not a factor in me resigning. Actually, they're a factor in me staying for as long as I did. And they're definitely a factor in why I'll be sad whenever I leave. Being in a jail type setting is not for the weak, and I think it has toughened me, it has strengthened me, it has made my skin very, very thick. And that being said, it's also not a place that I want to spend a long time in. The metaphor that I kept thinking about is just, you know, whenever you were a kid and you'd be like swinging on the monkey bars and your hands would get so super raw and would hurt before they would callus up. I feel like I was in that like raw and hurt era. And had I stayed there much longer, I was afraid that I would become calloused to like my clients and their stories and to counseling, or even just to like really bad, ugly things that happen in jail and not on the outside, but I was becoming used to just by being in that setting all the time. So I really didn't want to become that callous, and that is why now is the time. Oh, but I think I forgot to say this. So like, it has toughened me, thickened my skin and everything. And with that at the same time, like I have witnessed things and been through things myself that have been traumatic. And that is stuff that I deal with off camera, obviously. mostly. The secondary trauma stuff is stuff that I can talk about, but there are like mental struggles that go on that are off camera. And I think sometimes you can see that reflected in my mood whenever I'm having a really hard day. And sometimes it just happens with moods, you know, but they're also like, I can cite back events that have occurred that have traumatized me. And that's just like not a workplace that you can stay in forever. Okay, this has been 12 minutes. I gotta go get groceries. I've been sitting out here in the Kroger parking lot talking about why I'm quitting my job. We'll catch up again with a little bit more discussion. So the main things that I need you to know is, one, please stick with me. This YouTube channel has sustained and watched so many different transitions through my journey as a social worker, and this is just another one of them, even though it does feel different this time since it is like voluntary and we didn't necessarily know that it was coming. But as far as the channel goes, things will remain the same, you know, weekly vlogs, social work content, etc. Finishing this job will be somewhat of like a grieving process for me, I feel like. With that, I'm not recommending to anybody else to quit a current job without having something else lined up. That probably is not a good suggestion. I did think long and hard about my timing and about what was right, and I do believe that by the time you even see this video that I will have something else set up. I have a pretty strong premonition that that will be the case. I'm still going to be a social worker, but just know that I'm not necessarily encouraging anyone to pursue unemployment. I hope you can understand too why this video is pushed off beyond the day that it was filmed of when it'll actually be becoming live, because I do find that it is so valuable to show different parts of a journey, especially the more vulnerable ones or the more uncertain ones. But with that, there also has to be some sort of lapse, you know, in keeping private, like while the process is actually happening. If this video comes live, like if you're seeing it right now, then that means that I am no longer working at my job as is planned as of now, and most likely that I already have another job upcoming. So even though my current self doesn't know at the point, the videos coming up will be more clear as to like what's going on and what's happening, because I'll know more at the point whenever this video becomes live. I hope that it doesn't feel dishonest to you. That's kind of something I'm having to work through, because the next couple of weeks I'm going to be vlogging and I'm not necessarily going to be mentioning that they're my last couple of weeks. But again, I just hope you understand that that's because it doesn't feel right to be talking about leaving a job publicly on the internet whenever I'm still there working and I'm still there with the clients, and they're going to know that I'm leaving, and that's something that we'll be processing through during counseling. But before putting it publicly on the internet, I do need to be done, I feel. So it's not like I'm going to be lying in upcoming vlogs or past vlogs for you, upcoming for me, but this is just something that is more private, less public at the time that it's happening. That being said, what to expect from the YouTube channel. You've already seen at this point the vlogs leading up to my last day. You'll have seen my Tybee Island vlog. You'll have seen my Columbia vlogs that I'm planning on making, and now you're seeing this video. So what's upcoming after this is that I will post my last day vlog, which will have been from last month, but it wouldn't have made sense to post it without this context. You'll be seeing my last day vlog. You'll be seeing an interview vlog that I'm putting together for an official interview that I'm having. In that one, I'll talk about resume tips, interview tips, obviously not knowing if they're good, you know, until I get the job, but at least what I know so far, as well as just the process of a social work interview. And then coming up after that, I'll try to do more kind of like an explanation video. The one I mentioned earlier, if you put questions in the comment of this video, I'll be filming that to give an explanation. And theoretically, granted, again, this is, I don't know at this point because I haven't filmed it yet, we're not at that point, but theoretically in that explanation video, I will also mention what will the next steps be, what I'll be spending my time doing as a career, as a job. It has been 19 months that I have spent in the justice system, in the detention centers, which is wild because it feels like just yesterday was when I first went in. Maybe you don't feel as sentimental as me. You probably don't feel as sentimental as me, but if you do, go back and watch through the vlogs of back when I found out what my field placement was going to be, and when I first went in, and my first day, and the journey through the internship, and then finding out that I'm going to be working there, starting my first day as like actually being on the job. All of that has been documented, which is super special. And then this obviously is documented as well. So fingers crossed for all that is to come. Thank you for supporting and sticking with me through this time. Even though you don't know right now that you're supporting me and sticking with me. You'll already have been doing it for the past like month, 6 weeks, however long it takes until I feel comfortable to post this video. But I appreciate you, of course. And I'll see you next time in like 2 months, 3 months, 6 weeks, whenever this video gets posted. See you then.